Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Welcome back to your Monday morning edition of your Feel Good Breakfast or Expresso on SABC3. Now let's picture it for a little moment. It is that kind of life ideal, most beautiful picture where people strive to have a household with a loving partner and raising your children together. But sometimes cracks may start to appear in your relationship, and you may think that it's, is it really worth it to stay together for the sake of the children? And is this always the right thing to do? What do you do?
What do you do? Well, we're asking a few questions, especially are you thinking of ending your relationship but afraid to leave because of what it might happen to or what it might do to your children? Are you thinking of having children to fix your relationship, or has your relationship survived being on the rocks because you decided to invest in raising your children together? Those are some of the questions we're asking, and our relationship expert, Dr. Eve, is with us in the building to engage with you on your questions and comments. So please feel free to call us. Stay anonymous if you want to. That number is 021 430 9881.
All right, Dr. Eve, good morning to you. Thank you for joining us. And already with that sigh, I could hear that this is a very nerve-wracking topic for you. Yes.
Thank you.
So let's start first. Yes, go ahead.
I was just feeling I'm really not an expert on this. This is really a difficult, contentious conversation.
It is, yeah.
So go
and
ahead.
that's why we welcome all of your questions,
We do.
especially your comments if you have real-life situations to relate to us and maybe questions you may be struggling with. But let's first start off at the beginning by asking, is there research that shows that being able to grow up in a household with both parents there is more advantageous for your development as a child?
Right, so there's research that's going to show you both sides of the coin, actually. It's going to tell you that if you stay together for the sake of the kids, this is really beneficial because children do need to have an intact family. Whether it's one parent who's going to be very solid, that's intact. If you're going to have two, that's fantastic. But it depends on the quality of that relationship with those parents. So if you're going to have parents who are conflicting all the time, or there's abuse in the relationship between those parents, it is not a good idea to stay together, excuse me, for the sake of the children. It's not a good idea to do that. The children are more harmed by that. And there's lots and lots of narratives that will come forward where the children will say, I really wish that our parents had split up. It was way more detrimental than actually if staying together for the sake of us. We felt it, we felt the tension. We really wondered why they stayed together. So clearly, if there is abuse, I mean, that's a no-brainer that you need to be separating and be protecting your children if there's abuse in your household between the two parents. However, there is also awareness that once parents are divorced, what do they do with those children? Because they are going to, in all likelihood, take the conflict, take the acrimony that exists between them into their co-parenting. And then what happens to those children? Is it really good for those children who are coming out of an acrimonious household? Do their lives really improve when they are now separated from the nuclear family? Or do those parents continue to create so much conflict between themselves that the children are more harmed or as harmed by being out of the marriage, the marital home, than being inside the marital home? And I'm really interested to hear what our viewers have to say about that. Because I think about parents who become very self-absorbed, very neglectful during the time of a relationship when they are very distraught and unhappy. Do they really give attention to those children when they're married? And then how much attention do they give to the children once they're divorced?
Well, we would love to hear from you. Some interesting questions coming out.
Yes.
Dr. Eve, our lines are open. Give us a call if you've got a comment or a question. Is it better to stay together for the sake of the children? That's one of the questions we're asking. Those lines are open, 021 430 9881.
It's my Feel Good Breakfast Show.
Well, we are back with Dr. Eve on Expresso, and we're talking about things you and your partner need to consider if you realize you're only in your relationship for the sake of your children. Now, our lines are open. That number is 021 430 9881. Dr. Eve, I've got a question. If, someone's considering separating, getting a divorce, leaving their partner, whose well-being should take preference? That of the parents or those of the children?
That's a great question, Zoe, because children are only as good as what the parents are. So your first priority is to be able to find your own groundedness, to be able to be mature enough and to be able to be well enough, or to get professional assistance to help you through making this decision so that you are strong when you're then telling the children, we're leaving, or this relationship is now ending. one of the things that happen is that parents become very selfish. I mentioned it just now. They're very selfish. And it's not that they want to stay for the sake of the children. I mean, let's get over that. They stay for the sake of themselves because they don't want to leave their children. I cannot tell you how many couples will say to me, if it wasn't for the children, I would be out of here. They have an attachment to their children. They don't want to be living separately from their children. So there could be a selfishness around it, that no matter how much conflict or abuse is happening or unhappiness in this marriage, I'm staying because I don't want to leave my children. So you really have to be considered around who's benefiting, as you ask the question, who really does benefit from that? Yes, you want to be there, you want no one else to raise your children, but are you the best parent, or is this the best relationship for your children to be in? And a lot of the times it's not, and therefore you have to be mature enough to say, I need to get out of this, and we need to be taking care that we co-parent our children in a way that is going to be best for our children, because we recognize the way we're doing it right now in this marriage is not the best for our children. But that's kind of la-la land, because people can't stay married because they can't find ways to agree. So how are they going to agree once they're divorced and once other people come into their lives? It becomes chaos for children.
Well, we're going to keep our lines open, 0214309881. I want to talk about
Yes.
what happens should you decide to separate, right, with the children there. What could happen in terms of the development
Of the children.
What kind of things could play out?
Yeah,
What
so
effects will it have on the child?
Yeah, what effect? So we look at research and we say, what does research show? And research will show that if those children have got parents who are stable and consistent, which you always hear me saying, those children will thrive. Children have
Those separate?
Absolutely, absolutely. They have enormous resilience. Resilience means able to find inner resources to be able to manage with the situation they find themselves in. But it really depends on the stability of each individual parent. If there's one parent who is secure and who is safe and who's grounded, those children will thrive. If you've got two parents who behave like children and they're chaotic, those children are not going to thrive. So it's a responsibility. You were asking, who takes care of who first? It's a responsibility of those parents to make sure that they are in therapy, or they get professional assistance, or they get family support to be able to be parents and consistent and predictable and stable for those children post-separation. Those children are always going to long for mommy and daddy to be back together again, always. So how are you going to manage that as a parent? And that means that you really have to be mature. Step out of yourself, step out of your anger, step out of your own relationship pain and jealousy and resentment that you're feeling, and be present as an adult for your children.
All right,
Hard.
Dr. Eve, it's a very, very tough topic we're discussing today. When we
Yes.
come back, I want to talk to you about, let's say you've made that decision to separate or divorce, whatever you want to
Yes.
call it, and now you need to have the conversation with the children that are now mature enough to understand that mommy and daddy are no longer going to be together. Give us a call on 0214309881. We'll be back with Dr. Eve shortly.
It's my feel good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Happy Monday to you. We're trying to keep it all kinds of happy with our conversation with Dr. Eve right now. A very, very serious one. We're talking about staying together or separating for the sake of the children in a relationship or a marriage. We've got a caller on the line. Good morning, Anonymous.
Good morning to you.
Thank you so much for your call. What is your question or your comment?
My daughter's busy divorcing, and they've got a 9-year-old child, a girl, and she just thinks there's nothing wrong with the daddy. She just sees a daddy that's on a pedestal, and she just the mother is a wolf in a story, So I feel worried about my daughter. I just went through a divorce now, and I'm still busy with my divorce, and I'm staying with her, and I'm observing all the quarrels that's going through and all that. And yet my granddaughter thinks her mother is the wrong person.
That's a very, very interesting thing. So,
I would just see. Sorry, Kat.
yeah, I'm thinking with Anonymous saying that her granddaughter now thinks mommy is the wrong person. How would that have happened? Would that have been because of the 9-year-old little child witnessing what's going on, or could there be an influence from a parent? How do these kind of things come out?
She's just screaming inside. She's just screaming inside.
Yeah.
It's not about who's influencing who. If it is happening like that the father is saying bad things, or she's seeing the mother doing things that she doesn't like, she is just responding as a child who is saying, please stop this noise.
Yes.
Please grow up. Please just give me some attention. Take control of your lives.
What would your advice be to mommy, daddy, and child right now?
To parents, just go and get some professional help because you are hurting your child so badly. The child, if it could be afforded, the child needs to go into therapy. And also she's got a granny who's going through a divorce. So she's really confused and feeling very unsettled about what's going on with relationships.
Yeah. Perhaps this maybe
Yes.
links up to the question that I was asking before the end of our last segment, that
Yeah.
would mom and dad have sat down with a little 9-year-old child to say, this is what is happening, please understand that this is why mommy and daddy are separating, and it might play out this way and this way. How do you have that conversation with a child?
Well, long before mommy and daddy sit down, and of course they should be doing that, the child is getting the incredible tension and conflict that's going on in the household, and probably no one's talking to her about it, but she's getting her own messages and she's living in fear and trepidation about what's going on between mommy and daddy. And she's got to find like a good parent, like she's finding the dad. And it doesn't matter. I mean, the parents should not get involved in who did what or who's the better parent or who's the right or wrong over here. That just splits the family and makes the child have to choose, which is a terrible
That is
thing to
terrible.
do.
Yeah.
So I would say to that child, okay, so you think that dad is fine, is your favorite, or you think that dad is... Don't put the child into a position where she has to decide who is the better parent. These parents have got to come up to the table over here. It is so bad that the child is dominating what's going on. She's screaming for help. She's saying to the parents, which all children do, get your act together. Stop behaving like children. I want to be the child. I want to be taken care of.
Oh, well, our lines are staying
Yeah.
open. 0214309881. We would love to hear your comments and your questions. When we get back,
Yes.
Dr. Eve, I want to know, you have a lot of couples that think a baby will save the marriage, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. So give us a call.
Yes.
It's my feel good breakfast show.
Welcome back. We're still with Dr. Eve for our final segment on our relationship talks for today. And we're asking very interesting questions. Should you stay together for the sake of the children? But now I want to know the question, Dr.
Yes.
Eve. Often you find, couples have issues and they feel like a baby could save the relationship or bring them closer together.
Can you see the fire coming out? And it's like, whoa, this is so not cool. That's just terrible, Zoe. It's the worst thing to do, the most indulgent, most ignorant thing to do, to imagine that would be it. Well, buying a dog, I think you also have a responsibility, but people start out with that. Let's do something together so
A
we can
dog is
stay
very
together.
different from a child.
No, that's what I say. I'm starting out in a simplistic way, but that's also pretty naive because dogs also have a right and they also need to be taken care of. So it's a really stupid idea. And I know that a lot of people do that in a desperate attempt to stay together. And I appreciate that people desperately want to stay together because they have invested into something, especially if it's a marriage, because that's a more formal institution. And I really believe that people need to do the work. If you're in a relationship, start when you begin to feel uncomfortable, when you begin to feel the anger and the negativity is more present than the actual positivity that you feel towards that person. When you feel that resentment, when you feel the breakdown in communication, when you feel you are disengaging from that relationship, please go and talk to somebody at that point. Don't wait until there is complete breakdown, moving into what's called indifference. Because when you're indifferent, you're flatlining, and there is no way you're going to get back together again. Please do it. So no, do not have children as a way of rescuing your relationship. That is selfish and it's ignorant, and it's absolutely a high-risk situation to bring a child into that environment.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Eve,
Yes,
for
it's a pleasure.
your brilliant comments and expertise. And thank you to our callers as well. We
Yes.
ended off with a comment from Nomawetu from Hermanus, who said that at the end of the day, in order to raise a happy child, you need to be a happy parent, a happy mother, a happy father.
Hallelujah.
So take care of yourself
Yeah.
first. Well, thank you very much. We'll be doing this again next week. And as always, Dr. Eve, thanks, babe.